Dating back thousands of years, even as early as the Romans, substances have been used to increase peak athletic performance and improve an athlete's chances of winning. Whether it's baseball, track and field, cycling, or even curling, the use of performance-enhancing drugs is an issue that has plagued the ethics of sports for years and continues to affect it today. With continuous developments to technology and methods making it easier for athletes to cheat, concepts like fairness and equality, spirit of the game, and trust have all been jeopardized. Despite efforts from various agencies and associations to neutralize the use of these illegal substances, it is still a growing problem that could exist for many years to come if more progress isn't made. With so much attention and relevance in our current society, it's easy to wonder why nothing has been done to eliminate cheating from sport. Unfortunately, it's not as easy to stop as it seems. Over the last decade, advancements in technology have allowed for new methods of doping that are much harder to detect. Some of the more common strategies to dope while avoiding detection include designer drugs, which can be used to mimic the effects of an illicit drug while avoiding the classification as illegal in a drug test. Techniques like microdosing and more sophisticated strategies for timing, which are used to hide trace amounts of steroids. Gene doping, which is used to manipulate cells or genes in order to improve athletic performance. And masking agents, used to hide the effects of banned substances in the body. If processes like these are done correctly with proper precaution to avoid consequences, doping can be very effective, providing substantial increases in strength, speed, endurance, and energy to athletes. Fortunately, the progression of technology to make it easier for athletes has also been implemented to make it harder for athletes to get away with. Advancements in technology, like the introduction of the biological passports and integration of data analytics, have offset some of the developments in technology that have been made to increase the success rate of doping. In addition to what has been done with technology, the creation of the World Anti-Doping Agency in 1999 has established standards for all athletes of any country on what is legal and what is not. With more and more ways to effectively dope, certain countries have attempted to use performance-enhancing drugs as an advantage to improve their athletic reputation for the rest of the world to see. The first real case of a statewide doping scandal occurred in the early 1970s, when East Germany created a system to cheat by distributing dirty drugs to athletes competing in the Olympic Games. The East German government saw success in international sports as a tool to gain respect and recognition from the rest of the world during the Cold War and after the construction of the Berlin Wall. German athletes, often without their knowledge or informed consent, were administered a range of performance-enhancing drugs, including anabolic steroids and other banned substances. Athletes were subjected to persistent dosing regimens, and medical professionals were complicit in the administration. The government, including the Ministry of State Security, monitored and concealed doping practices to avoid detection during international competitions. As a result of the doping, East Germany netted top 5 finishes in total medals at the Olympic Games from 1968 to 1976. The extent and impact of the doping scandal became more apparent after the reunification of Germany in 1990. Many former East German athletes that were suffering from serious health issues such as hormonal imbalances, reproductive problems, and long-term medical complications began to speak out about the systematic and insistent nature of the doping practices. The scandal highlighted the ethical concerns surrounding the use of performance-enhancing substances in sports and emphasized the human cost associated with the pursuit of athletic excellence at any cost. A similar but more recent example of a scandal involving the support of a government is Russia's scandal that happened a few years ago. In the early 2010s, Russia created a state-sponsored doping program that was successful in large part due to their ability to tamper with athletes' urine samples, replacing positive results with clean ones, allowing their athletes to dope without being caught. The manipulation of urine samples was conducted primarily by the Moscow Anti-Doping Laboratory, which played a crucial role in the doping scandal. Employing a method known as the Duchess cocktail, Russian officials manipulated urine samples using a combination of substances to alter their composition and characteristics, effectively masking the presence of illegal substances. Laboratory technicians also played key roles in executing the operation, replacing athletes' positive samples with pre-collected clean ones, making it impossible to know they were cheating. Similarly to East Germany, Russia experienced overwhelming success at the Olympic Games, finishing near the top of the medal counts for consecutive years in a row. However, after reports of their cheating was leaked, investigations and reports were made, eventually resulting in the suspension of Russia's anti-doping agency, RUSADA, and the banning of Russian athletes from international competitions, including the 2016 Rio Summer Olympics and the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. Examples like Russia and East Germany are different than most scandals in the idea that doping was run by the state, where the athletes didn't necessarily have a choice in deciding whether or not they wanted to use. In most cases, the decision to use is made by an individual athlete who sees steroids as a path to success and fame if they aren't caught. Some of the more famous individual scandals include Lance Armstrong, Barry Bonds, Maria Sharapova, and Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson. Examples of elite athletes doping, like the ones listed, often create questions around the reasons they did it and if it was worth it. Obviously, after the fact, questions like these are not fair to ask considering the goal of any athlete using performance enhancers is to win without anybody ever finding out. Athletes who decide to use PEDs are aware of the consequences associated with being caught and understand that they may never be looked at the same or even have the chance to compete after their decision to use. However, factors like money, fame, and external pressure continue to make it harder and harder for athletes to resist the temptation of using performance enhancers. Factors like these don't necessarily justify the means to use PEDs, but they do provide clarity to fans and supporters who question the athletes after they get caught as to why they did it and what they were doing it for. If the spotlight and money awarded to successful athletes wasn't as massive as it is today, there wouldn't be as much incentive to dope because the risks would outweigh the rewards. However, with the continuing growth of popularity around the world of sports, it's hard to blame an athlete who wants their own piece of the spotlight.
If it's the first time the athlete's done it or first time they've been caught, then I think it should be like a warning or they should get kicked out of the current tournament. But I don't think they should be banned for life, which I think that's what happens for a lot of athletes. I don't know.
I think that for doping, definitely at least a suspension and maybe even a permanent ban. I think that they're definitely not very effective because this issue seems to not be coming to any kind of stop, and athletes are often using illicit substances to improve their performance.
I think it's effective in stopping athletes from using them because, well, first they get banned from a lot of tournaments, but also, they can't do it again. But it definitely isn't stopping countries and corporations and big organizations from doping, just because you see it in countries like US and Russia who continuously dope. They're probably still doping. Maybe not currently, but I definitely like to see like Olympics for peak human beings who do everything and who are like the best, and compare them against natural athletes. That'd be cool.
I think that it should be not ever allowed because it's bad.